Have you ever wondered why there are so many SUVs on the roads these days? Well, you can blame this guy. Hey. Before we kick this off, I'd first like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. Breaking 1,000 is a big deal for me, and now at 2,000 and growing, I'm humbled, and it's time to celebrate. Today we have a 2000 Jeep Cherokee Sport. This generation, referred to as the XJ, was released in 1984 and was in production until 2001. That's 18 years. It won 4x4 of the year from 3 separate publications upon its initial release and revolutionized the 4x4 market by having a few firsts under its belt. This Cherokee was the first compact SUV to offer a 4-door option and the first to utilize a unibody design instead of the traditional body-on-frame design. Until 1988, it was the only one out there offering 2- and 4-door options, and get this, both of those options had an identical wheelbase and length. And this SUV was the first to feature shift on the fly all-wheel drive. Not only is it fun to say, it allows you to shift into 4-wheel drive while in motion. This XJ pretty much kicked off the modern-day SUV craze that we see today. The sales and adoration for this midsize SUV sparked other manufacturers to jump on board and create their own 4-door models. Since Jeep's inception back in 1941, they've traded hands many times. By the time this was released, American Motors Corporation, or AMC, had controlling interests partnering with Renault engineers to complete the design. You can argue where the $250 million in design costs went, since this isn't exactly a work of art. Its box shape, although simple and still not bad looking, screams function over form, and that's something I can always get on board with. It came in 1,000 pounds lighter than its predecessor and with much better gas mileage. Couple that with its off-road capability and long production life and nearly 3 million sold through its run, you can actually say this was money well spent. This Jeep has 108,000 miles on it, which, in the world of this 4-liter, is a baby. Fires up like a champ. For the age, it's in good condition. It's not mint, which I like, because a Jeep like this is meant to be used. It's a rugged vehicle, right? The Goonies actually helped popularize this car. It was in the opening scene when they're breaking Jake out of prison. Mama Fratelli gets this puppy on the beach. She throws it into 4-wheel drive, states it very obviously, mind you.
What are we doing here?
Trusted your old mother, boy. Throw it into 4-wheel drive and hold on to your hat.
And then proceeds to blast upon the beach and then manages to find herself in a giant SUV race where she comes out on top in this compact little car versus all these monster SUVs at the time. Fantastic movie, fantastic intro. If you watch it again today, you just say to yourself, boy, this is a Jeep commercial. My favorite part is when Chunk says,
out in the garage, ORV, 4-wheel drive, bullet hole the size of Mazda.
This has the venerable 4-liter AMC inline 6-cylinder engine, which, if you ask anybody, they use the same word every time, bulletproof. This engine is bulletproof. It produces 190 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. The torque comes on at 3,000 RPMs. Any position that you change on your foot equates to a direct response from this engine. The transmission shifts so butter smooth, it floats through gears. You can barely even feel it shift. For a 20-year-old transmission and motor, I think that is overly impressive. And the handling, although it has this dramatic play in the middle, so much in fact you can do this until your head falls off and the car's not even going to budge. Once you get past that play, it handles like a small car. There's surprisingly no body roll, or very little body roll. Let's see how this bitch handles a U-turn. Like a champ. Look at that steering radius, that's fantastic. It's actually a pretty relaxing car too. It's not that loud. I really expected this to be obnoxiously loud. You do hear the wind slapping off the windshield a little bit, but the interior noises are very minimal. Bit of a rattle behind the dashboard, some squeaks from the rear end. The XJ isn't my favorite model. The SJ was my all-time favorite looking old school Jeep, or rather the Wagoneer that it was built off of. I think it was that front hood, that little lip that came up on the front hood. I just thought it was the coolest looking thing. But I do wonder how far the Jeep Cherokee has come in the last 20 years. Well, I say, let's find out. So this is the 2019 Jeep Cherokee. Much more refined, much more luxurious than the 2000, and much more powerful. It's got 271 horsepower in this puppy, and it's super soft upon its acceleration. But it does have a 9-gear transmission, which in my opinion is just way too many gears. My only problem with this is when you're in the manual mode, the amount of time it takes to find the gear is extremely questionable. So if I'm in 4th gear right now and I go to downshift, it takes about 3 or 4 seconds just to find its own gear and get you into it. That's way too long, and it kind of makes it unsafe. It happened to me where I was on the George Washington Bridge, there's a car slowing down in front of me, I go to plop it down a gear, it launches me into neutral for a little bit as it tries to decide what gear it should be in, and then it pulled me back. My fault for really relying on an automatic transmission for engine braking, but I had more hope for it. Overall, it's a smooth ride in here. It's much smoother than what the 2000 was offering, and that's what you would hope after 20 years. With a heated steering wheel, heated seats, and the whole nine. I mean, you are getting all of the bells and whistles in one shot. It's not a Jeep to the extent that I don't feel like I want to go off-roading in this. I feel like I want to go to my grandmother's house and pick up some meatballs. This is the evolution of Jeep. You went from utility to luxury in the span of 20 years, and they're keeping up with everything that's going on in the industry, and rightfully so. I guess the best part is the Jeep name never really died, and it doesn't seem like it's going to. It handed off so many times, they'll just hand it off again, somebody'll keep it going. I use the term luxury here very loosely when it comes to describing the 2019, and only for comparison, since this is not a luxury car by any means. But the fit and finish didn't feel cheap at all. The limited trim does bring along the nice leather interior and feature set. I was ready to hate on this car pretty badly, but thankfully it was nothing like the Jeep Liberty or Compass that I've driven in the past. While I may not be a huge fan of a lot of Jeep products, some models were done right and with a driving purpose in mind. Jeep has had its fair share of flops in its near 80-year run, but they've also transformed the automotive landscape by inspiring other manufacturers throughout the years. The XJ quickly became a favorite of mine once learning the history, and I hope this video helped everyone else respect it a little more as well. If you enjoyed what you saw here, like and subscribe. If not, leave a comment below. Feedback is always welcomed. Thanks for watching.
Mikey, this ain't the kind of place you want to go to the bathroom in.
Why not?
Because they might have daddy long legs in them.
But I gotta go. Like dead things, Mikey, dead things.